Welcome everyone. As Rio said, thank you so much for organising time out of your day to come along for our wireless info byte. Today we'll be going over Wavelink's Wi-Fi solution services that we provide to our resellers, going over the major features for Fortinet's solution and going over it and touching on Wi-Fi 6E, having a look at what's new in FortiOS 7.2 just briefly for wireless features. We'll also look at the FortiAP management solutions that currently exist, have a quick overview of the wireless product range that's currently existing, and we'll quickly touch on FortiGuest, which is a new product for Fortinet built from the ground up. Throughout the session, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the questions section. My colleague Rio will be going over and flagging the questions for me, and we'll be reading them out through the Q&A section towards the end of the presentation. So before we jump in and start going over the Fortinet solution, I just want to take a couple of minutes to introduce Wavelink, just in case you haven't dealt with us previously. We were established in 1998 with a key focus of growing our strategic vendors and our partners' presence. And we're doing this by building out the capability and depth by aggregating solutions and providing specialized product knowledge and product intimacy. Wavelink was introduced to Fortinet as we were a Maru Networks distributor since 2008. And since Fortinet's acquisition of Maru, Wavelink has been working really hard with Fortinet to grow and nurture their solution into the market. We are a 100% Australian owned, and we have a company culture that's quite responsive, and it makes it really easy to do business with us. And we have a real yes can do attitude. We have many other benefits, including a professional services program, and that includes staging, rollout, installation services, and an exclusive incentive program that we run on a regular basis. If you want any more details about any of that, please feel free to reach out to myself, your account manager, or to our sales team. We're happy to provide some more details around that. So Wavelink Services, we offer resellers access to our EkiHouse certified wireless solution experts. I myself am one of them. We've got Gabe, who's down in Melbourne. He's also one of our EkiHouse certified wireless solution experts. And we can help you design a wireless solution to meet your customers' requirements. Effectively, what we do is we use scalable floor plans provided by the customer, and we take that blank floor plan and we draw out all of the walls, all of the areas, all of the attenuation points, areas between floors where there's an opening, where you can see wireless sort of bleed between the floors. And we go through with all those different sections. We indicate, what kind of material is used for the walls, because all these sort of things affect Wi-Fi and how you would deploy Wi-Fi access points. We then go through a meticulous process of analyzing the best placement locations for access points based on coverage, throughput, RF noise, interference, specific AP things like the power rating, the type of model, how many antennas and what type of antennas it's got, and how we configure the individual radios on that access point. And that's all dictated by what the requirement is from your customer. We can then generate an analysis report and provide that to you to show the key design metrics and how the design is keeping up with what the requirements are in place by the customer. And you can then use that to present the solution to the customer. You can also use it when you're actually deploying the access points to refer back to know, yep, this access point needs to be configured this way and placed in this exact location. So if there's an opportunity that comes to you from a customer and you require assistance with scoping and designing a wireless solution, then you can engage and lean on Wavelink to help you put that solution together and deploy that solution. So let's jump right into the content. So current trends are often the way IT admins approach network security and refreshes are in silos. And this piecemeal approach creates a collection of products, licenses, and management consoles rather than a solution. And it's led many IT leaders to look to consolidate these solutions. The second trend is the explosion of devices on the network, and this is driven by IoT and BYOD, and the subsequent need for visibility and securing these devices, whether it's onboarding or just identification of who's at these devices and what they're accessing. Lastly, security is now at the top of every business leader's mind and is now seen as a business problem rather than a technical problem. And one of Fortinet's key advantages to their product lineup and wireless solution is its ability to integrate into Fortinet's security fabric. And this integration provides visibility and protection into the entire network's attack surface. It provides solution integration to reduce management complexity and to share that threat intelligence between pieces within the Fortinet security fabric. And it also provides automation for fast and efficient operations. So the FortiGate with its built-in wireless controller allows for the best next-gen firewall to provide secure Wi-Fi to an organization with Fortinet's secure LAN Edge product range. This provides benefits such as a single pane of glass for management, reduced CapEx and OpEx, and centralized network control. It also significantly reduces the amount of time required to deploy a network to new locations, as you can predefine all of the configuration for each component ahead of the deployment. So when you're deploying the solution, you can spend more time verifying and less time configuring multiple silo solutions. And overall, this drives a much improved experience for your customers and also for your technical team. And a key enabling technology for that is FortiLink, and it is what enables Fortinet's unique capabilities at the LAN edge. So FortiLink protocols enable the FortiGate to be able to manage Fortinet's network access layer products, such as the FortiSwitch and the FortiAPs. And the FortiLink drives simplicity. It allows the automated provisioning of that access layer, the visibility, because everything is centered around the FortiGate. And it provides for a flexible architecture that scales as you need to change and enables the FortiGate to be able to offer a high level of security to SSIDs and ports for the switch. You can confidently create global security policies enforced by an architecture centered around FortiGate and FortiOS, because essentially FortiLink is having these access points as an extension of the FortiGate itself. There's no additional licensing required for you to be able to utilize FortiLink to manage your access points. And it's part of your investment into the FortiGate, which in itself is part of an investment to the wider SD branch solution. And this whole ability for the FortiGate through FortiLink to manage your Forti access points and the fact that there's no additional licensing helps Fortinet's solution to have a lower TCO than their competition, while achieving a really high level of integration. So the business value for adopting Fortinet wireless network solution caters around the idea of convergence. So convergence breaks down those silos, centralizing data from the users and the network, and that can be accessed by AI or machine learning to improve security and performance. And this creates secure and resilient networks to help drive businesses and offer superior user experiences. The convergence also simplifies operations for network administrators, and it reduces the time required to implement and also manage the network. And again, all this helps to lower the TCO by bucking the trend of term licensing for needed features, and it just reduces that overall complexity for yourself and also for the customer for licensing. And Fortinet's wireless solution was designed with high density enterprise in mind. And as such, it comes loaded with a whole bunch of enterprise features. Some of those enterprise features are data rate control, broadcast and multicast management, DHCP monitoring and starvation attack prevention, probe response suppression, bandwidth throttling and traffic shaping, client load balancing and fast handoff, rogue AP monitoring and suppression, and also wireless spectrum analysis and monitoring. And there's many more features, but they're the sort of key ones that we see a lot of customers are really requiring out of the Fortinet solution. And finally, another key benefit for Fortinet is that it has a really robust solution for zero-touch deployments, regardless of what deployment and management method you or your customer chooses to use. So for example, if you're deploying access points managed by FortiGate, you can ship those access points, those switches, and the FortiGate to the site, plug it all in, and get it connected to the internet. Then what will happen is that FortiGate sends a message to FortiDeploy servers, which are hosted in FortiCloud, and it learns its management type, and it will then connect itself to that management portal. Whether that's FortiManager, FortiGate Cloud, FortiManager Cloud, the options are endless. What will happen then is the management solution will then push that predefined configuration that you have for the FortiGate, for the Forti switches, and for the FortiAP back to the FortiGate, and then the FortiGate will then distribute the configuration down to the access points and down to the switches. And if you're deploying just access points to be cloud managed, then what you would do is you'd ship the access points to site, get them all plugged in, power them on. Each access point would then speak to FortiDeploy and say, hey, where should I contact for management? FortiDeploy will push it to wherever it needs to go to. If you're doing something like FortiLAN Cloud, then it'll say, hey, can you please connect to FortiLAN Cloud? And then what'll happen is FortiLAN Cloud will then push its predefined configuration for each access point directly back to those access points. And this just makes the whole deployment process so simple. So you can have everything all predefined, and then as soon as it's powered up, it will then find out where it needs to talk to and then get its configuration automatically. So what is Wi-Fi 6E and why are so many people waiting eagerly for it and talking about it so much? And we've even started to hear some stuff about Wi-Fi 7. We've seen some very promising benchmarks coming out of Intel for Wi-Fi 7, but the next key thing for Australia is Wi-Fi 6. And it's called Wi-Fi 6E, because it represents an extension of the available frequencies that can be used to transmit Wi-Fi 6 signals. And so essentially what it is it's opening up the 6 gigahertz band for Wi-Fi. So what this means is Wi-Fi 6E capable devices can use either 2.4, 5, or 6 gigahertz channels. And the number of channels on offer for 6 gigahertz is significantly more than what's available for 5 gigahertz. It provides an additional 59 non-overlapping channels. Now, what this means is that it allows for less overlap in signal, which reduces your interference, and it allows engineers to be a lot more creative with things like channel bonding to create even faster wireless networks with even less interference. It also allows for even higher density deployments, because we can effectively put more access points right next to each other and they won't interfere with each other. Now, currently there is a common misconception that 6 gig will solve all of our current Wi-Fi problems. Unfortunately, that's not quite the problem, not quite the truth. The fact is, the higher the frequency, the higher the signal loss ratio is. What that means is the signal strength degradation happens much faster. Now, to combat this, when we do our site surveys, normally we reduce the threshold to accommodate for this, for VoIP type traffic and real-time traffic analysis for the 6 gigahertz channel. And just to give you some metrics of what that actually looks like in real life, an example of signal loss for an identical channel on 2.4 gig and 6 gigahertz, the 6 gig channel is 10.6 meters less range than the 2.4 gig equivalent. Not only that, but the difference in the channels within the 6 gigahertz, then the difference between the channels within the 2.4 gigahertz is quite significant. So the difference between the highest and the lowest channels in 2.4 has a difference of 0.4 meters in length for its signal loss, while the difference for 6 gigahertz is triple that at 1.2 meters. So at the highest range you can get, it's channel 1, and we've got 7.1 meters at 6 gigahertz. And then its highest channel, which is 233, we've only got 5.9 meters. So you can see there's quite a big variance in even just the range of signal within the 6 gigahertz channel itself. So all these things need to be considered when you're doing designs. And because of this, we would highly recommend not to do a direct rip and replace for existing aging solutions that were designed specifically around the 2.4 gigahertz. 5 gigahertz, if the network was designed around 5 gigahertz and we're upgrading it to have the ability to have 6 gigahertz, then we would definitely still need to look at it and make sure that we're not having too much signal loss with the current location of the access points. But 2.4, there's a definite need to ensure that you're not just ripping and replacing there. And a real life example of this is the picture on the right-hand side of the slide. There's two phones that are absolutely identical phones. On the left-hand side, it's connected to a a Wi-Fi 6 network, which is 5 gigahertz. And on the right-hand side, it's connected to a Wi-Fi 6E network, which is at 6 gigahertz. And you can see there the 6 gigahertz hieroglyphic is actually showing it's one level below the 5 gigahertz, even though that access point is in the same location and those two phones are exactly the same. So that's just an example of just how different the range is for 6 gigahertz. So let's pivot now into the current management solutions. FortiAP has two management options. You've got FortiGate Managed, and you can also do cloud management through FortiLAN Cloud. So FortiLAN Cloud is the replacement for FortiAP Cloud, and it's a fully featured cloud management solution. It allows you to manage, monitor, and troubleshoot your customers' wireless networks through the convenience of the FortiCloud portal. And it has the ability to separate out each site into its own portal. So if you had a customer with multiple buildings and they wanted each building to be in its own management portal, then you could do that with FortiLAN Cloud. You can also add a multi-tenancy license if required, if you're an MSSP or you're looking to provide MSSP services to your customers, then that's an additional license on top. Then you can actually separate out each and every single customer into its own portal. And then within that portal for the customer, you can then break down into each building, or you can have them all of the network into a single portal. You know, the option is there and the option is totally yours. The way FortiLAN Cloud is licensed is it's licensed on a per AP basis, but the license actually includes FortiCare in the license. So that means if you're looking at buying 50 access points and you're looking for it to be managed by FortiLAN Cloud, the cost would be the 50 access points and the 50 licenses to FortiLAN Cloud. You don't need to purchase FortiCare separately because that's included in FortiLAN Cloud. And that FortiCare services both support for FortiLAN Cloud. So if you needed assistance from Fortinet to come in and have a look at your configuration, they would then do that. And it also provides hardware coverage on the access points themselves. And sometimes that solution is actually cheaper than buying the FortiAP plus FortiCare. So there's a bit of win that you can get by deploying with FortiLAN Cloud. Now on the other side, the more traditional approach is your FortiGate managed. And this is where that wireless control is integrated directly into your FortiGate. And then you manage your access points and all your wireless solution through a FortiGate. And as we've talked about before, this leverages FortiLink for that secure integration of the LAN edge. Now, the good thing about this is there's no additional license cost for this. This functionality is completely free and completely included in FortiOS. And within FortiOS, it's not an additional license. It's just part of the base FortiOS operating system. The AP limit does depend on which FortiGate model you go with. So you always want to check the data sheet. So for hardware, it's limited to what that hardware can do, and that's limited by RAM and CPU resources for each FortiGate. And then on the VM side, it's also limited for each VM version. So VM02 will have a different AP capacity to something like a VM04. And here's a couple of the main FortiGates that we currently sell, the 60F, the 80F, and the 100F. And right at the bottom there, you can see the access point limit for each of the model. So 64 or 32 for the 60F, depending on how you deploy them. The 80F bumped it up to 96 because that's got a little bit more processing power and a lot more RAM than the 60F does. And then, jumping up to the 100F again, more RAM, more CPU. So we bumped that count all the way up to 128 or 64 in tunneled mode. Again, if you want any of this information, just check out the data sheet for the exact FortiGate model that you're looking at. And for large-scale deployments and multi-site management, Fortinet offers the Fabric Management Center, and this consists of a FortiManager that centrally manages your secure wireless edge, and it does this by managing the access points through the FortiGate. And the FortiManager also provides GUI access or graphical user interface access to a lot of advanced features that aren't available on the graphical user interface on the FortiGate itself. And this allows your technical team to easily configure advanced wireless features without having to remember or require the CLI commands to do so. So this can be quite handy, especially if you're doing a lot of deployments. Another really great feature of FortiManager, and it's a key part of the zero-touch deployment functionality, is it provides that zero-touch deployment to your landscape and allows IT teams to create a blueprint or a configuration template to base all of your deployments across the company's entire network. And this significantly reduces the amount of work required to expand an existing office network or to even expand the corporate network to new locations. Because effectively what you do is you create a blueprint, and then if you need to expand your current network, then any additional access points that you put on will automatically grab that base blueprint, and off they go. They're pre-configured, you're all good. And then if you're adding a new corporate office into your network, then again, that whole office, all the way from the FortiGate to the switch to the access point, will base its configuration off of your template. It'll pull through the configuration and it knows exactly this is the SSID and the password I need to set up. This is the configuration for the switch, and the FortiGate is going to have this configuration on it for the SSIDs to be able to access the WAN or the corporate network. And then off you go. You just need to do maybe a couple little touches depending on how you deploy it. But this significantly increases the ease of deploying and the ease of expanding your network. And keeping true to Fortinet's reduced license strategy, each access point does not need a license for FortiManager. FortiManager is its own product. So if you have FortiManager, there's no additional licenses to be able to manage the access points. And the way FortiManager is licensed, it's licensed on the amount of devices it can manage. And that amount of devices doesn't include access points. It only includes FortiGate. So you could have one FortiGate managing 600 access points. And as far as the FortiManager is concerned, it's only using up one license for that FortiGate. So let's jump in and have a look at what the current wireless product range is. So Fortinet has two ranges of products for FortiAP. There's the standard FortiAP series, which is our enterprise grade access point. It's a tri-radio with a dedicated scanning radio for the Wi-Fi 6 range. And then we've also got a FortiAP UTP series. So our FortiAP UTP series has two main additional features over our standard FortiAP range. And the first is the ability to run UTP services or security services on the access point itself. And this allows you to perform things like web filtering, IPS with antibot, application control, and antivirus. And all of this is done on the access point, and this allows you to secure and protect your LAN network from the wireless access layer, essentially stopping malicious traffic before it even reaches your wired network. And the second is the UTP series has a more robust radio chipset in it, and it allows you to run it in 3 different operation modes for the Wi-Fi 6 products. One of those modes is dual 5 gigahertz radios and a single usable 2.4 radio. So effectively, you've got 3 active radios on that device. You can also run dual 5 gigahertz and use that third radio as a dedicated scanning radio. So that would allow you to serve clients on 2 radios and then see what's happening to your network, analyze what's around and find any rogue access points. And the last, which is a more traditional approach, and it matches what our FortiAP can do. We've got the single 5 gig, single 2.4 with a dedicated scanning radio. So it's a lot more flexible in how you can deploy it. And this flexibility allows us to deploy the UTP series into a lot higher density networks than we would typically aim to put the FortiAP in. The only note there is the security services, or the UTP functionality, is a licensed feature, and it is licensed on a yearly basis. So access points, Fortinet has a range of them, all the way from 8x8 now down to 2.2. You've got internal antenna, external antenna ones. We've got ruggedized ones. We've got waterproofed ruggedized ones, IP67, and we've also got wall plate ones, which are great for in-room installations, such as hospitality. So I've got here just a brief overview of all of the FortiAP models. We've currently got 10 options, again, ranging all the way from that 8x8 real powerhouse of an access point. That one's really great for high density, high throughput environments. And then we go all the way down to a 2x2 Wi-Fi 5 wall plate access point, which is great for hospitality. And the reason why it's great for hospitality is it's actually got a couple of ports at the bottom of it and effectively turns the access point into a switch. So if you deploy that into, let's say, a hotel, and that was wall mounted, maybe below the TV or somewhere in the room, then a client could actually, or someone who's staying at the hotel, could actually connect in through Ethernet their equipment, maybe it's their laptop or they've brought with them a PlayStation 3, and then through the access point, it'll connect that device back to the network. Now on the UTP series range, it's slightly reduced. We've got 7 options, and it starts with only a 4x4. There's currently no 8x8 in the UTP series, but because we've got the ability to use all 3 radios on the U series, effectively the U341F almost is exactly the same as the 8x8 FortiAP. Just a little tidbit for you. And all of these devices here, they're perfect for high density VoIP networks. And also, we've got, similar to the FortiAP, we've got that indoor wall plate access point if you really need it, if you really need a UTP version of that device. Accompanying the access points, Fortinet has a range of external antenna options. And we've got the perfect antenna for whether you want point-to-point connection or whether you want more of a 360 type degree radiation of Wi-Fi. If you need any details or any assistance with understanding what each of these do and where they're best suited, just reach out to us. The pre-sales team happy to sit down and run through all of the available options. Now I want to quickly touch on new features in FortiOS 7.2. I'm only going to cover the top 3 because there's only 3 that I think are really important for customers and will help your technical team out. One of the enhancements is pre-authorization of serials based off of a wildcard. So essentially what this allows you to do is you can put in a wildcard serial, and the example on the screen is FP231F, 4 stars and then ending in 001. And what that'll effectively do is any device or any access point, that you connect into your FortiGate that matches that wildcard serial, it'll actually pre-authorize and it'll pre-push to it your configured FortiAP profile. So instead of having to sit there, if you're doing a deployment of 100 access points and having to right click each and every access point and authorize, allow, you could just do a wildcard serial that says maybe all of the access points you're deploying are the 231F. Then you would have the serial numbers FP231F and then the rest of it stars, and then any access point that's a 231F model, it'll automatically authorize and allow onto the network. And then as soon as you're done with deploying, you can jump back in and you can cancel that pre-authorization for that wildcard serial, and then the next time if you plug in an additional access point, then it goes back to that traditional, it'll pop up, right click, and then allow. So it really simplifies the deployment. if you're doing it from the FortiGate GUI. Another really big improvement in the GUI on the FortiGate is now when the technical team are going through and they're choosing what channels to select from, or the customer's choosing what channels to select from, it'll bring up a new page, and it helps customers and the technical team ensure that they're not accidentally configuring overlapping channels, because in the 2.4 gigahertz range especially, it's really hard sometimes to know, if you're not technical, what each of the numbers means. So effectively, the FortiGate kind of takes care of that for you. It deselects all the ones that could conflict with each other and only leaves you the stuff that you should be selecting from. This greatly reduces complexity. And the final thing is that Fortinet have introduced advanced features for the graphical user interface for the FortiGate. It allows for lots of things like enabling voice enterprise, fast transitioning. You can change the radio sensitivity, whether you want it on and off, and that'll affect a couple of really advanced things in the background. But the idea is that instead of your technical team having to understand, or the customer having to understand what CLI commands it takes to configure and change a lot of the advanced wireless features, Fortinet are now bringing that to the graphical user interface, and all they need to do is just enable the ability to see these advanced features. So they're the main things that are new in FortiOS 7.2. Hopefully, your technical team and the customers will really find these valuable, because it certainly does make it a lot easier to manage the FortiAPs through the FortiGate graphical user interface. Now, FortiGuest. This is a brand new product from Fortinet, and it is a next generation solution that they've built from the ground up. And essentially, it provides a suite of features and rules to enable secure network access for guest users. I guess they kind of put that in the name with FortiGuest. Now, FortiGuest is a complete provisioning, management, and reporting solution that provides network access for guests, whether they're just visitors, whether they're contractors, consultants, or customers themselves, internal staff can also use this solution. And FortiGuest works alongside the wireless controller, that would be your FortiGate wireless controller, the LAN switches, so Forti switches, FortiNAC, whether that's the full-fledged FortiNAC solution or whether that's the FortiGate's built-in NAC functionality, and many other network solutions to provide a captive portal and enforcement point for user and remote users. And this product, if you're familiar with FortiConnect, is actually going to be the replacement for FortiConnect. So the idea is that FortiGuest will provide a captive portal. That user, whoever's trying to access the network, will then provide some sort of sign-in method, whether they use an email address, whether you let them sign in through social media, so you can capture who that user is, and then you can apply policies to that user. You could say, I'm going to let someone who signs in through social media browse the general internet, but not browse certain websites, or maybe they have low throughput because they're not a priority for your network. And then you could have contractors that sign in through an email address that is from your contractor's domain. You could have that have a completely different rule, where maybe they're not allowed to access internet services. They're only allowed to access a specific server that they need to in order to do their work while they're on site. And you could set maybe that priority to a much higher priority than just general internet traffic. So therefore, they won't be impacted if a whole bunch of people jump on your network and start browsing the internet. And it's fully customizable. You can go through, and the captive portal that pops up, you can brand it, you can change it to whatever you or the customer would need it to be. You can change the language and location. You can have that all dynamic, so that if someone comes in and they've got an iPad that's the language is set to Italian, then the page can automatically adjust its text to be in Italian for that user. It's very flexible. And here's a list of sort of the breakdown of all the capabilities of it. So it is really a very specific product, but it's designed to do that specific thing really, really well. So if you need that guest portal ability, this is the product to start to look at for your customers. So if you need further AP details or further details around the access points and the solutions, there is a lot of information out there. Some of the most useful stuff is in the wireless product matrix, and this provides an overview of each of the access points that Fortinet has, sort of where you would see them typically be deployed, high density, low density, SMB, and it's just got a really nice high level overview. You've also got the Fortinet wireless accessories portfolio that contains all of the accessories, whether that's mounting hardware, power supplies, or PoE injectors if you don't have a PoE switch. All that detail is in there, and it says for each model exactly what it supports. We've also got DIN rail mounts for a lot of products in there in case you need additional ones. Fortinet also has a really comprehensive interactive product comparison page and allows you to specify parameters that you or the customer require, such as maybe you want an access point that has external antennas, and it will update the list in real time to provide only the products that are applicable for what you need. So this is really great. This not only applies for access points, but it applies for a whole bunch of Fortinet products. The link there is at the bottom of the page. We will be providing the slides, so don't worry about quickly grabbing a screenshot of that URL. It will be in the slides, so I would definitely, if you need to know what product would best suit for what your requirements are, this is a great starting point to quickly jump in, quickly have a look, and quickly sort of dial down to what you would need. If you need technical training or you want some workshops, maybe your customers want to jump on a workshop to get their technical team sort of an introduction to the Fortinet wireless solution, then Fortinet has a fast track workshop. And this is a hands-on 4-hour technical workshop about Fortinet's SD-WAN solution. So it'll dive into not only FortiAP, but it'll also go into FortiSwitch and FortiLink. And it'll teach everyone that comes on the benefits of integrating devices using that FortiLink and how to enable common security policies across the network. Again, extending that protection of your FortiGate all the way to the network edge. So that's a free technical workshop. So if you need any further details about that, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to provide a link to where the registration page is for that. Fortinet also has a technical certification, NSE 6, and it's for secure wireless LAN. And that's a real technical course, so it goes through how to deploy, how to troubleshoot, and how to manage from a technical perspective. So if you have any technical team that really need to skill up on FortiAP, that is the certification to go to. Again, if you know anyone in the technical team and they need assistance, please feel free to reach out to myself. I look after enablement, or you can reach out directly to Fortinet and they can provide you plenty more details around exactly what's included in that course and a sort of plan of action for it. With that, let's jump into the Q&A section. Rio, do you mind sharing with me a couple of the really good questions that we've got from our Q&A section?
Yep, thank you, Kieran. Thanks for the session. But some Q&A sessions, some Q&A questions that we have at the moment are: what licenses do you need to purchase to manage APs via FortiLAN Cloud?
Yep, so FortiLAN Cloud is a per AP license, and it includes that FortiCare support. There is a free tier of FortiLAN Cloud that allows you to do limited management of 30 access points. If your customers want to sort of have an understanding of the interface of FortiLAN Cloud and want to sort of get their hands a little bit dirty before they commit to making a purchase, you can utilize that free tier. But in order to do any of the enterprise grade features, you will need to buy that FortiLAN Cloud license, which again is on a per AP basis, but it does include FortiCare support.
Sweet. Another question: with Maru wireless controllers becoming end of support, what is the upgrade path?
That's a really good question. and that's one that I actually get asked quite a fair bit. So Fortinet recently made the replacement to the Maru access controllers, which is the 40 WLC product, end of sale, which means that in order for customers to upgrade their Maru controllers, fortunately they'll need to look at refreshing their whole wireless solution, whether that's to be FortiGate managed or FortiLAN cloud managed. And these solutions, the FortiGate or FortiLAN cloud, unfortunately don't support the Maru access points. They only support the 40 AP access points. So if that customer has the Maru controller and the Maru access points, we need to look at unfortunately doing a full network upgrade for them. And obviously, as part of that, if you need assistance with scoping that, we have our Wi-Fi solution assistance. So, reach out to us. We can have a discussion with you, and we can, if you need be, jump on a call with the end customer and understand and have that discussion with them about the upgrade, what it would look like, what their requirements are, and developing that solution.
Sweet. Another question would be, does FortiWiFi support external monitoring and management systems? Examples like SolarWinds or Pacelar?
Yep, so you can use SNMP to monitor the access points. So if you're doing FortiGate managed, if you enable that advanced visibility in the GUI, the ability to enable SNMP is there in the graphical user interface. You just need to go through and configure the settings for it. And then obviously, then you would need to set up your external system to be able to accept those, the SNMP traffic. So that functionality is definitely there. It just obviously won't have the advanced integration that you can get with having the access points managed by the Fortinet solution. So some of that is if you've got the access points managed by the FortiGate, and the FortiGate identifies a device as being malicious, then the FortiGate can actually tell the access point, can you quarantine that user? So that kind of functionality you would lose with SNMP, but the ability for that is there if you need to use it. Absolutely. Great question.
And we'll just answer another 2 more questions. Any plans for an ATEX compliant AP?
Wow, that's a great one. I'm not sure, unfortunately. I would need to check in with the Fortinet team. From my understanding, I haven't heard anything, but let me check and I'll get back to you.
And lucky last question, what are the current lead times on APs?
It's the all-important question. So the lead time depends on the 40 AP model. We're trying to do our best to keep the main models in stock, like the 231F, which is one of our best sellers, and the U231F, which is the universal series of that. So obviously it's got the ability to do the UTP services like antivirus. But lead times for things that we don't have in stock can be for 6 months or more. It really depends on how limited the stock is from Fortinet side. So unfortunately, there's no real definite answer there. It is very much depends on the model and depends on the stock limitation from Fortinet.
Awesome. Thank you, Kieran.
There is an extra question here that I just saw from Mike. So he's asking, is FortiGuest a license I buy for my FortiGate or VM or FortiCloud service? The answer is it is a separate product in itself. Currently, the only option is for VM. Essentially what it is it's a Docker image that runs within a self-contained VM that you would deploy on a hypervisor, whether you deploy that in SXI or whether you deploy that in Azure. The power is all yours to deploy wherever you need to deploy it, but it's currently only available as a VM. Hopefully soon it will come out as a cloud service, but I unfortunately can't comment because I'm not sure what Fortinet's plans are for expansion of that product. All right, I'll quickly go across to the next slide. So the key solution products that we've spoken about today, which is obviously the FortiAP and how it integrates with the FortiGate, is that sort of core solution, but it can be complemented with additional Fortinet solutions. One of those is FortiAI Ops, which is a network inspection solution that provides recommendations on how to improve your network performance and operations. And as it's contained within the name, it uses AI in order to figure out and analyze and understand your network. We've also got Fortinet, which provides dynamic network access control and network segmentation that has integration with FortiAP. And as you can see on the slide, there's lots more products within Fortinet's range. The ones that I put on the slide are the ones that I believe are, very beneficial if you're looking at access points purely as from an access point perspective. FortiManager we spoke about, central management of them. FortiConnect we talked about. FortiPresence is a Wi-Fi presence analytics and customer engagement solution. So what it can do is it can actually grab information from your access points about where users are, what traffic they're going to, and it'll actually track them as they physically move through your network. So that's quite a powerful, really cool solution. There's also a FortiPlanner, which is a Wi-Fi planning and evaluation tool, similar to what I showed on the slide with our Wi-Fi services. You can go through and you can put in a floor plan, you can put where the access points will be, and it will analyze the network and provide to you, what signal would be like predictively in this area, that area. And it also can be used for evaluation post deployment. So there's plenty of products in there. And this all ties back to that security fabric from Fortinet. So that's really key. And that's a key value for FortiAPs. Thanks everyone for attending. If you need just 3 points that are really key to take away from this is, the solution is secure. You've convergence of security in your network access. It's simple. You've got all that integration. Simple single pane of glass management makes it so easy for IT, and it makes it easy for you guys to sell services if you need to for the products. And intelligence. You've got the ability to do automation, and that provides you flexibility and can reduce your complexion for your IT team, because you can automate a whole bunch of things that you would typically have to have a network engineer sit there and be able to troubleshoot. So with that, thank you guys for coming. If you have any questions, please reach out to us, whether that's the sales team, directly to your account managers, or to pre-sales, or to myself at training@wavelink.com.au. I'll hand it back to Rio to end the session. Thanks, Rio.